Hey there, friends. Welcome to a live stream that I'm going to try to start doing every single month. I'm really bad about scheduling stuff and sometimes not following through with it because in many, many cases, things pop up and they derail your schedule. And just like most of you, I'm no different. My time is so limited. You know, when it's time to flex and do something different, man, it's really hard to do that. I always plan for a pretty busy December and, of course, January too. So this time of year makes it even worse. You know, your extra time that you might have is not ready to be allocated to something else. So when a news cycle change, let's say it's a quote mass shooting or whichever, something that's going to change the course of your normal day, it's hard for me to pivot. Again, like most of you, I don't think many of us have tons of extra time on our hands. But with that being said, what I'd like to do, I'd like to make this one of my first, just to try to get into the schedule or the routine of it, of a live stream once a month. I enjoy live streams. I think you guys enjoy them for the same reasons I do. We get a chance to interact. We get a chance to talk about topics at the same time. You know, in real time, we're able to toss those things back and forth. I would like to make this an informal introduction to that. I'll have more polished things ready to go, like graphics and things like that going forward whenever we do this at least once a month. And I say at least once a month. I'd ultimately like to do this once a week, where it almost turns into kind of a poor man's podcast, if you will. So we interact with you guys. In fact, what I'd like to do, starting at least in January, is have at least one of you, maybe more than that, come on here. You remember that when we had the election, I brought a guest on here and was only able to do it with one, but one of the viewer guests I was able to bring on here, and it was pretty cool. It was neat to have that. It was cool to have some of the audience participation. I will tell you guys, logistically, that's kind of difficult sometimes. Not that I don't want to do it, but logistically, it's tough to stay on course and bring somebody else in, because usually the answers, although really good and interesting, they're not always in rhythm with the rest of the live stream, if you know what I mean. And that's sometimes a good thing, because sometimes I like going off the track and deviate, doing something a little different. I will say this. I know you guys know, I've talked about it before. Hey, buddy, I've got a special needs son, and he's coming in the house right now from being outside. So please bear with me. I let him do his thing. So you're going to hear some noises, maybe some banging around of him just closing doors and whatnot, getting himself something to eat right now. So if you guys don't mind, I am a family man. I love my family. I love my son. I love my wife. But more importantly, those things come first to me. As he gets older, I'm okay with him kind of coming on screen now. I say that because I am going to start bringing him to some of the shows and things like that we do, say like NRA, SHOT Show. Not this year's SHOT Show, but man, I'm hoping I can get him out to the NRA show and some of the other shows later on this year, or next year, I should say. Go ahead, little buddy. He's getting himself some water right now. So that's why I'm not going to be as protective of his identity going forward. I have been with him growing up. He's 16 now. There's some nutbags out there on the anti-gun side that have made death threats to my family. Of course, they're cowards, and you don't exactly know who they are. Hey, buddy. So I've always protected his identity to a certain degree because I was fearful of that. It's going to get to a point. What do you say? Thank you, buddy. That I'm just going to have to get used to that and get to the point where people see him, because I do intend on, you can bring that to the table, buddy. So he's excited because he's about to eat a sandwich. Hey, settle down, buddy. So anyway, as you see, this is what I deal with when you guys hear about me talking about my son. That's it. That's my normal life. Again, not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things out there that's happening, more specifically this continuing resolution. This is something that I've made lots of notes in my phone. Hey, keep it down, little buddy. I wanted to give you some of my notes that I have that I made. Hey, buddy, can you turn your music down just a little bit so I don't get demonetized or kicked off of YouTube when they recognize the music? Let's see. What was one of the? Oh, this is one of the first notes. I read through the continuing resolution, the one that they voted out or decided not to vote on yesterday. Now, there was a threat that they were going to vote on something in a secret vote later tonight, which kind of ticks me off because what are they voting on? Don't we get to see it first? We know they don't read it. I would like to at least read it, but I made a lot of notes flying down from Missouri, visiting my friend CMMG up in Missouri yesterday. What do you say? Hey, can we keep it down now? Yeah. Thank you, buddy. So I made a bunch of notes on the existing one as it were. I don't know what the new one is, if they're planning to vote on it, but let me give you some of the highlights. It's really lowlights if you want to get real about this. So there was a part in there. I don't know if you guys knew that Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell, these are the two losers that never stopped beating up on Trump out in California. Go figure. And they leaked classified documents. They have leaked, of course, you guys know Eric Swalwell is the one that was banging the Chinese spy and got caught and was on one of the very high-ranking intelligence committees and didn't get kicked off of it, right? That's how the Democrats operate. They're okay if they leak our secrets. They're not okay if you leak our secrets. But anyway, they both leaked classified documents to the media, and now they are inserting language into the continuing resolution. Remember, this is the continuing resolution to keep the government open, right? That's all it should be, a continuing resolution just to keep the government open. In other words, approve current spending levels until March. This is not a permanent budget response to last until the fiscal year ends next year in September, October. This is just to continue it for 3 months. So nothing is going to end up being permanent regarding this, okay? So they're wanting to have this thing with language in there, allowing it to quash any subpoenas, meaning that there would be no investigation into the corruption regarding the January 6th investigation. Remember, there was discussion regarding Liz Cheney. Remember that it's funny how the Democrats are notorious for doing this. And look, you know my thoughts. I'm not going to break this down too detailed, but you know my thoughts on the Republicans too. They're just as slimy. But the Democrats came out and specifically said, as if they knew something, that, oh, now Trump is going to try to investigate Liz Cheney and throw her in jail once he takes over. Well, those of us were sitting back going, no, he's not. Why would he want to do that? Because at the time, we didn't know what we know now. Well, now it's come out that Liz Cheney, during her investigation of the January 6th, being on the January 6th committee, she actually hid information. She hid vital information that would have been really interesting to keep some of these January 6 people from going to prison without charges being pressed against them. And let's remember, there are no insurrection charges that have ever been pressed. No one has been charged with insurrection at this point. So she withheld information. Now that we know about it, should send her to jail. So these people knew that there would be something coming out to send her to jail. So they started getting the ball rolling. So now that that information came out, they can sit back and go, see, we told you Trump was going to try to send her to jail. Well, there was no information to send her to jail before. So your statement before was erroneous because we didn't know these things. You did, but we didn't. Now that we know these things, she should be sent to jail. So now they're going to sit back and go, oh, see, we told you. We told you so. We told you that they were going to try to prosecute Liz Cheney. Well, yeah, now she deserves to be prosecuted. So again, Swalwell and Schiff also need to be prosecuted, and they're trying to build stuff into this continuing resolution that will prevent people from being able to investigate these members of Congress. There's a certain level of immunity that they're trying to build in here. Think about that. How nasty is that? Let's see. Oh, and I may put a full video out on this later that you can see the screenshots and all that, because some of this stuff, you almost have to see it to believe it, right? The continuing resolution bill also mentions, get this, tell me this is not the wokeness of our government and the reason why Kamala Harris got beat so soundly and easily by Donald Trump, because the American people are done with the wokeness, but they still built this woke mess into this. So now instead of calling somebody an offender, now we'll call them a, quote, justice-involved individual, because the word offender is apparently too offensive to people. So we don't want to hurt an offender's feelings. So now we're going to call them justice-involved individuals. That's in a continuing resolution to keep the government open and to approve current government spending for 3 months. What do you say? So in today's world, instead of us saying, let's just keep the government open, excuse me, guys. The cat was getting into his food. Sorry. So instead of just passing something that's going to allow us to keep existing spending going for 3 months, we got to add all this other stuff into it. Hey, can you stop coughing? Yeah. I know you're doing that on purpose, buddy. He doesn't like sometimes when we talk in the house, so he does things to disrupt that. My apologies for that, guys. So again, they're doing that simply to disrupt everything, right? Oh, let's do this. Oh, COVID emergency powers. Did you hear about that? There's some COVID emergency powers in there that will allow the federal government to push and force additional mask mandates, vaccine mandates, and things like that onto the American people. Yeah. That's necessary to force into an approval to keep the government open for the next 3 months. Really necessary. Let's see, guys. What else did I write down? I wrote a bunch of notes in my phone. It's a certain level of immunity, an extension of the current immunity that the pharmaceutical companies have for them damaging Americans with their experimental drugs, more affectionately known as the COVID vaccine. Let's see, page 758, it blocks anyone injured by countermeasure authorized under EUA from receiving compensation under Vaccine Compensation Fund created by the 1986 Act. So I think this extends their immunity, and I'll have to go back and check my notes. I think it extends their immunity until the year 2029. So the more people who get sick, drop dead, and have complications as a result of the experimental vaccine, now they won't get the legal protection from that. Why would you take legal immunity and extend it for a drug that you said was safe and effective and would do all these miraculous things, unless it's not safe and not effective and doesn't do all these miraculous things? Again, this ain't a vaccine slamming video. This is a truth video. And when they lied to us and told us all these things, the only way, because they probably got warnings from the pharmaceutical saying, guys, we may have some side effects here. I'm not saying the pharmaceutical companies were honest about this, but it wouldn't shock me if somebody of a better thinking mind and not quite so greedy did not warn someone that this is not smart to do. This is not wise. There are complications that could be associated with this experimental shot. You can go outside if you want to, buddy. So in order to convince these pharmaceutical companies that not only are we going to fund your operation by the gazillions for the next several years, which is what they essentially did by promising them all this money, buying up all their vaccines and shipping them all across the globe. Now we gave them immunity until whatever year it was, and now we're willing to extend that until 2029. So that even though they can, you can go outside, little buddy. Yes, you can. So even though that we are going to continue to let the pharmaceutical companies implement and use this same harmful vaccine and continue to kill off people all over the world, we're also going to give them protection. And look, I don't fault anybody for taking the vaccine. And I'll tell you why. And I mean this when I tell you this. There were mandates out there and people were already experiencing loss of revenue for their families. Now these people were getting their livelihoods threatened as a result of, you don't get the vaccine, you can't come to work. The government was also forcing that on other companies. In other words, if you work for a subcontractor, you could no longer work for the federal government if you didn't get the experimental shot, right? The only safe businesses, and barely, were ones like mine that had less than 50 employees because they couldn't force that on me. I wasn't going to force that anyway. I don't think any of my employees got the vaccine. My reason for telling you this is I understand that some people felt the need because maybe they had autoimmune issues. Maybe they were older people. There were lots of different things out there that if you looked at the propaganda that got regurgitated out there regarding COVID of how deadly it was, even though that in itself was a lie, you had no reason to disbelieve this. They lied about the death numbers, the mortality numbers. So when you hear that people are dropping like flies, it's scary, right? It took a little bit. It didn't happen right away that we saw right through the lies. So I understand why people did this. Take care of their families, protect their families in some cases because they believed the lies. But I don't think it's okay to shame people who got the vaccine is what I'm saying. I don't do that because I know people had their reasons for it. I know people very close to me who are very, very conservative people, but because of their existing health issues that they had, whether it be asthma or lupus and different types of autoimmune diseases, they felt the need because of their own safety and wanting to be around because they believed the propaganda, wanting to be around for their families, they got the vaccine. I don't fault them for that. Now I'll pray for them now because the truth is finally out and they regret it. They regret getting this vaccine. But again, at the time, I'm not one of those ones that will shame people for getting it. The people who sat out there and tried to force people to get it, that's the ones I blame. I blame the ones who knew the truth, but still pushed this onto innocent Americans, trying to force them to do it and take advantage of fear in order to get them inoculated or whatever, vaccinated. So just a shame that happened. So I just feel like if your vaccine was truly safe and it was truly effective and it truly did the things that you said it was going to do, you shouldn't need immunity. So why are we giving it to them? That should not be in a bill. That simply we're trying to extend spending for 3 months to keep our government open. That's not how it should work. What else do I have? There's funding for alleged censorship operations. This bill supports government agencies involved in what they consider to be illegal censorship. What is the name of that organization? I had the name of it earlier. There's an organization, I'm trying to find my notes here, an organization that is known for and has been used to work against the American people. It's actually a censorship organization in and of itself that I can't find it. Where did I put that? Anyway, I'll try to put a full video of it together later on. But yeah, there was an organization that was known for doing that we were going to fund that was going to work against truth in America and try to censor people and not allow them to get truth out there. That was built into a bill that was intended to just extend the federal government spending for 3 months. I'm going to keep repeating that because some people get lost in the fact that, these are pet projects that different congressmen and whatever wanted. Well, that's true. That's exactly what it is. But why is it being lumped into a bill simply to keep the government open for 3 more months? In fact, let me do this. I would like to play you a video because this video, in my opinion, is proof that the federal government and all of the people, congresspersons in the federal government, Republicans and Democrats, made deals with one another that if you vote for this spending bill, for this wasteful spending bill that we're putting out there. If you vote for my stupid pet project, if you have one that you'd like to slide in, I'll vote for it. And I'm speaking like a Democrat and a Republican having a conversation together. Hey, Democrat, excuse me. Sounds like this came from the Democrats. So it's from Hakeem Jeffries. I'm about to play you a video. Hey, Republican, I know you're against wasteful spending, but if you'll vote for my shrimp on a treadmill, I'll vote for your shrimp on a treadmill, right? I know your bill is stupid, and I know my bill is stupid. And I know you would never vote for mine ordinarily, but let's make a deal. We vote for each other's bill, and we're good. We have our pet projects that we take back to our communities, and we can tell everybody that shrimp on a treadmill, that's because of me. I made that happen. Check this video out, guys. I want you to see, this is how these people think. You tell me if this is not proof that shrimp on a treadmill and deals that are made is not a real thing. Here we go. Let me cue this up and play it for you guys. Make sure we're going to grab video or audio as well. Yep, here we go.
House Republicans, House Democrats, Senate Republicans, and Senate Democrats reached a bipartisan agreement to fund the government, keep it open, and meet the needs of the American people. We reached a bipartisan agreement to provide disaster assistance to everyday Americans whose lives have been upended and turned upside down as a result of hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, floods, and other types of extreme weather events. We reached a bipartisan agreement to meet the needs of the American people and provide assistance to farmers, families, children, seniors, veterans, men and women in uniform, and working class Americans. House Republicans have now unilaterally decided to break a bipartisan agreement that they made. House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country. House Republicans will now own any harm that is visited upon the American people that results from a government shutdown or worse. An agreement is an agreement. It was bipartisan, and there is nothing more to say. Thank you.
But I think
All right. So you see exactly what I'm talking about, right? Lies, and these people are sitting here telling you, oh, we were voting for this, and now the Republicans voted against that. Did you notice the thing that he pushed on the most? Disaster assistance. Hakeem Jeffries sat here and pressed for half of his little speech about disaster assistance. Do you know how many pages a bill would need to be to approve however many billions of dollars in disaster assistance for the people in Florida, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia? Do you know how many pages that would need to be? One. And does it need to be on a continuing resolution? Does it need to be on an approval to have money to keep the government open for 3 months? No. But he said that Republicans in the House had made an agreement. That's the deal I was telling you about. So they had promised Democrats that they were going to vote for their garbage. And then thankfully, Elon Musk put a tweet out, or an X out, whatever you call them. I don't even know what they call it anymore on X. And Donald Trump had come out in opposition to the continuing resolution. So a lot of these Republicans said they weren't going to be for it. In fact, I read a minute ago, there's up to 30 Republicans that said they won't vote for anything that looks like the current continuing resolution. And those numbers are likely adding up. My point is, some of those guys probably did go against their word because they realized that now Donald Trump knew or was going to know who they were. And Elon Musk was saying any Republican or a Democrat for that matter too, that votes for this existing continuing resolution the way it is needs to be voted out of office. That scared the crap out of these people. They don't care about you and I, but they do care about being reelected. And that hit them in a spot that they were not expecting. So some of them had to go back on their word, just like Hakeem Jeffries said. They went back on their word. They said they were going to vote for it. Then they went, oh, crap, we can't vote for this mess. But this man sat here and tried to press it and say that Republicans were voting against disaster assistance. Do you want disaster assistance for those people? Why are you tying it to anything? Why are we waiting till December to vote for this? Do you know, I read a story where there were, I believe, 100 tiny houses that it was either the Mennonites or the Amish people had built 100 mini houses for people in East Tennessee and West North Carolina. 100 mini houses that were built, sent them there, parked them in a lot somewhere, and we're starting to distribute those to families in the West North Carolina, East Tennessee area. The local governments and the state governments, excuse me, likely with the assistance of the federal government, including FEMA, had them shut down the distribution of those tiny homes. Why? Because the proper permits and coding were not adhered to or requested. So they stopped them from delivering these tiny homes. I believe they only set up, apparently illegally, 40 of the tiny homes. And that number might be high. So there's at least 60 tiny homes that are perfectly well built and suited for the conditions, winter conditions in that area. They're sitting in a lot somewhere while families are still sitting in tents, freezing. And when I say freezing, I also mean freezing to death. Because about a week or two after I read that story about the tiny homes not being distributed throughout that area up there, that hurricane-stricken area, I read where 3 family members died in a tent and froze to death. Now, I don't know if those 3 family members were going to be living in a tiny house, but what if they were? What if they were the next family in line to get one of the tiny houses? But people are and will freeze to death in the mountains of Appalachia. That's going to happen. Those conditions are too severe, especially for today's people, right? That's not, you can't survive those winters in the mountains up there. Yet they waited until a continuing resolution the week before Christmas to try to say that this is the assistance bill that we're putting together to help the American people hit hardest by this hurricane. Why? Why did you wait till now? There was no reason you couldn't have put that bill out at the 1st of November. There's no reason you couldn't have put it out then. But now you're trying to hold other members of Congress hostage by saying we're not putting that bill out by itself, when you could have all along. But they're saying we're not going to do it by itself. It's going to be part of this pork bill that you're going to either approve or you get no money for the people who need it. I wonder if the families on the southern border who are crossing the border illegally are getting in any of their current assistance along with the existing assistance that they got before. I don't hear anybody asking to put any kind of a cool little bill in there to feed the families at the southern border. You know why? Because they're being fed and they're being taken care of. Those people are still being prioritized at our southern border over the people in the mountains of Appalachia. And that's not right to have these congresspersons now making it sound like other folks out there who don't want to approve this wasteful spending are doing it because they don't want to help the people of Appalachia. We know better than that. That is an outright lie. And this shows you that Republicans have no balls and no spine. Because if I were Chip, and I speak for all of them, if I were Chip Roy or Thomas Massey or somebody, I would be outraged at these people saying that I'm voting against a bill to help the people in Appalachia. I would be the moment I saw that interview from Hakeem Jeffries, I would have been in front of a camera on a microphone saying, excuse my French, you son of a bitch. Because I would have said, I'm trying to put a bill through just to pay for the hurricane disaster relief in Appalachia. And y'all won't vote for it. unless I put all this other pork in it. Why can't we agree to bombard our members of Congress to put one-page bill out to pay for the hurricane victims in Appalachia? I don't want to see shrimp on treadmills or anything else in that bill. I don't want to see a road being paved or a bridge being polished, buffed, and painted. I want to see assistance go to keep people alive and keep American families together in those mountains before they freeze to death. Because as a good dad, you know what these people are going to do. They're going to send their wives and their children somewhere else. And we are going to force the breakup of families in this country at this time of year, the holiday season, because these fathers are going to try to do the right thing in some cases by sending their families away. Go somewhere where it's safe, where our kids can live in at least a little bit of comfort while I stay here and rebuild our home. That's the true crisis about breaking families up. We're worried about illegal aliens having their little families broken up at the southern border. We're crying and whining about that while we're going to see the exact same thing happen here in the United States from people who have been decades and centuries long American citizens. We're going to turn our back on those people as opposed to the ones who are jumping over the border illegally right now because of the Biden administration. It's not right, guys. That's the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. That's the kind of stuff that I'll never get over. And speaking of one-page documents, we definitely have the right people who are going to be involved in this next government. I say that because Vivek Ramaswamy put out a tweet that said, yes, it is possible to enact a simple one-page continuing resolution instead of 1,500-page omnibus pork fest. Here it is. Before I read it to you, I want you to see it. This is the one-page spending bill that he is suggesting. And it does everything that we need to be done to fund the government for the next 3 months. It states, making further continuing appropriations for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025. Making further continuing appropriations for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled. Section 1, short title. This act may be cited as the Further Continuing Appropriations Act of 2025. Section 2, the Continuing Appropriations Act 2025, Division A of Public Law is amended by striking the date specified in Section 106 and inserting March 14th, 2025. That's it. Not even a whole page, a half a page. And we're keeping the government open, as they like to say. That shows the diabolical corruption at every single level in Washington, D.C. When I look out a window of an airplane at Washington, D.C., I feel dirty. That's how corrupt and diabolical and disgusting that place is. Every single person over there, I hope, has a horrible night's sleep until they take care of the people who are suffering from those hurricanes while they try to put over 1,500 pages of bull crap in a bill that this would accomplish. One page is all we need. We need one page to keep the government open and literally one page to pay for the people suffering in Appalachia. And these jackasses won't do it. Guys, I can't take your questions right now because I can't see the monitor because of my setup here. So I do apologize for that. But I wanted to put this video out while this continuing resolution stuff is fresh in my head because there's so much to it. And again, I did read it. It was the most brutally, painfully thing. And look, just so you know, when you're reading something like this, you don't have to read every single word because some pages you scroll through and it's talking about either amending things, changing a phrase in it or something like that. So when somebody says, read it, yes, reading a 1,500-page bill is a trick to keep people from reading it. More pages you put in there, the more people think, I can't read this. But at the same time, you really are only reading about, and this is still not good, but you're still only reading about 500 pages because there's so much junk in there. There's so many spaces. There's so many things in there that don't belong, that are fluff and filler. So you're really not reading 1,500 pages. The 500 pages you are reading are the only meat and potatoes. In fact, most of this bill that needs to be read is at the very beginning of it anyway. But anyway, I wanted to let you guys know I have read it. And what I may do is, if I don't put it out in a post, I may do a quick video on it in the next couple of days, letting you guys know what is in this bill. It really depends on what they do today. Again, they decided not to vote on it yesterday. Not sure what they're going to do today, if they're going to try to sneak a vote in on this. My guess is I think that's what they're going to do. I think these House Republicans are going to use the cover of the holidays to hurry and cast a vote for this, knowing they're going to piss people off. But then everybody goes about their business and does all their holiday stuff. And they're hopeful that as they get through the next 2 weeks of holidays, everyone will have forgotten that that's the jerk and the jackass that voted for this mess. And they think you're going to forget about it. I'm not going to let that happen. I will remind you after the first of the year, if this thing passes, who voted for it, so we can keep them fresh in our minds. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. As always, please go to my website, sign up for my newsletter, because the newsletter is definitely going to let you know when I have these types of live videos. It's a lot of fun to me. Again, as I stated, I hope to in the future have guests on, meaning you guys. I'd like to pluck people from there. I'll probably put you in a waiting room during this and pull you guys up one by one. And who knows, we may bring 3 or 4 of you on at the same time to have a conversation about a particular topic. But I'm hoping to do just some real loose conversations with you guys live once a month going forward. And I hope that evolves into once a week, because I really do enjoy these types of things. I like doing this stuff off the cuff. I never script anything. Even whenever I do my normal videos, none of that is scripted, as you guys can see. I use the wrong words sometimes. I say the wrong thing sometimes, because nothing I do is scripted. It's just a conversation that I'm having with you guys. So again, guys, I look forward to doing that going forward. I will be putting videos out through the holiday season, so I'm not going anywhere, but I do want to, while I have you guys here live, to wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I don't care what kind of God you worship or what kind of thing you worship. I don't care if you don't call it Christmas. None of that matters to me, as long as you're not trying to force your opinions on somebody else. I don't care what you call it. I still call it Christmas, and I believe in that. That's how I was raised, and I'm going to continue to call it Christmas. If that offends anybody, you probably don't want to subscribe to my channel, because I'm not really concerned with that kind of wokeism. But I hope the holiday season and the Christmas season is a great season for everybody. I hope it's safe for everybody. This can be a really weird time of year when people are out drinking and stuff like that on the road, and I hope that doesn't happen. I hope nobody succumbs to any kind of weirdness like that. I hope you get what you want for Christmas. I hope you give what people want for Christmas. And I hope, above everything else, you are kind to people who deserve it. And I say that because, guys, I am not one of these hippies that thinks that you have to love and respect everybody. I absolutely do not believe that. I think if you don't respect me, I'm not going to respect you. I'm not one of these turn the other cheek kind of guys. I believe, and I give everybody, this is how I operate in my life, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. You start off, in my eyes, as a good person, not a great person and not a piece of crap. You start off as a good person. You take it from there. You decide if it goes up or if it goes down, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And if you return that to me, we're going to be cool. So I don't wish kindness and greatness and goodness on every single person out there, because I'm a realist. I don't think everybody deserves that. I honestly don't. Some people make the bed and they build their own karma in their own kind of way. And those people I don't feel sorry for. But each one of you out there who deserves to have a pleasant and nice and wonderful Christmas, I hope your family returns the favor to you, and I hope you're very kind to them, and you have, let's just call it an uneventful Christmas season, because the more uneventful it is, I think the safer it is, and ultimately the better off that you're going to be. Guys, have a great one. I will be seeing you in the coming days, obviously, with my normal routine of videos, but I wanted to put out this live video and just connect with a bunch of you. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you next time.